like a constant source of anxiety when I do these that something's not recording or it's out of focus.
Oh, that'd be bad.
Because then it's just all wasted. And I'm not like sitting there in front of it, so I'm like constantly checking the time because the one camera shuts off at a half hour anyway.
Oh.
So I'm like, all right, we got to find a good break in the conversation at like 25 minutes where I can jump over there.
Our camera does the same thing. It like overheats and you have to like turn it off or something.
So
Just one of them.
yeah. Yeah, if you don't have like a cinema camera with like a big fan in it, it'll overheat.
Mm-hmm.
Like Canon R5 is like the classic one that people use like when they use like the 4K setting on it.
Okay.
It just overheats after like 15 minutes.
Great.
Yeah. Camp day 2 we got coming up.
That's right.
We got in here a little early and it's a little quiet, so we got to podcast a bit.
Hit up the mics.
Yeah, people are feeling great for day 2.
Oh my gosh. It was, you and I have been coaching and programming for a while. We were both like, I didn't think they would have been that beat up from day one.
Well, we kind of knew the second one was going to be brutal.
Yes, but I think the sun made it worse.
Yes, it was direct sun and it
Not
was
an ounce of shade.
and it was humid and hot.
Yes.
So hot, like relative to, well, we're still in May here.
Yeah,
May, it felt like
May in the Northeast.
Felt like solid June.
Yeah, May in the Northeast, you're like, all right, 70s is like hot because we're not used to it.
Yeah, you're not used to it yet.
But it was probably pushing upper 70s, but with the humidity, felt like it was in the 80s.
Yes.
Direct sunlight, no shade, and people were just wilting. They were just like, poor kid, he's gonna get dubby. Just like.
Lost his lunch halfway through the run.
I said it yesterday, but you just see him walking, and then he's off to the side.
Why is he walking?
And then coming back, and then he's off to the side. I'm like, everything all right there? And he's like, yeah, I just threw up everywhere.
Yeah. But the morning one, we were expecting it to be like more like, 1-to-1 intervals that are like a good type of training piece. But when you are not super used to the movements and you do it at a really high intensity, it changes things a bit.
Yeah, they brought the heat, which was good, I guess, but...
Yes. Yeah. But they were pretty toasted.
Yeah.
Their legs are going to be feeling
It'll be great. They're going to feel great today.
But, hey, that's what happens all the time. I mean, again, this is sort of... Camp is in between, like, training and competing in my mind, which is what we're going to talk about today. But it's sort of like you get sort of competitive, like quasi-competitive environment combined with, like... the intent, like you want outcomes that will help you in training, but you're kind of like putting your hand on the fire a little bit of like the competition side of things.
Yeah.
So it is like a really kind of interesting in between, and in competition, you're not going to feel great on day 2.
No, if you do, you probably didn't go hard enough on day 1.
Yeah. Or it was like you did the scale division and it was, hanging knee races
and not where the division,
not the
division you should have been in.
Yeah, yep. So both of our lunch and learns the last 2 days, which we'll publish to this platform. Well, I don't know if they'll come out before or after this, but yours was on training to win. Mine was on competing to win, which is we got asked on Instagram before we got here as to like maybe was it some things we could talk about, and TDA Kid 91 asked,
shout out kid,
differences between working out and training, when and how to flip that switch, which I felt like is something that we are both preparing essentially to talk about.
Yeah.
Like we are more so talking about like training, competing, but I think like working out and training, it sort of implies that you are preparing for something.
Sure.
Which in most cases is competition.
Sure. Some sort of competition.
Yes. Yeah. In some respect. So I guess like the place my head goes to start this would be like if you're not doing a competition, then you're always just like generally kind of working out.
Yeah,
right?
I mean,
unless you have like a more specific goal.
Well, I was just about to say that I think it's less about competition and more about goals.
Yeah.
And so like if you have a specific goal, then there should be a structured way to get there, and that's training.
Yeah. I would even say that, like, okay, if your goals are to get to 8% body fat, to be able to do a strict pull-up with 25% of your body weight attached to you and to run a sub 6-minute mile.
Sure.
It's like, that's very specific.
Yes.
And like, you could even put a date on, okay, by July 31st, I want to be able to do that. I don't know. To me, maybe this is just my skew. I'm like, you're still like working out. I feel like most people would even use that like vernacular when they talk about it.
Yeah, I think I would agree with you until you started to talk about the pull-up and the run. So to me, then it's like, okay, well, I have to do more pulling strength work and running. If it's generally losing weight, then really at the end of the day, to lose weight, you have to be at some sort of calorie deficit. And so you can just work out and do that, right? Like, you don't need a structured training program necessarily.
Maybe it comes down to the amount of structure that you have in place.
Yeah, it's like you can work out, and most of your structure needs to come in the nutrition side of things and the lifestyle side of things. But with that being said, I do think there's great example, right? Like, you program for Lumber Capital. I don't program for our gyms, but as of right now, I still approve the programming. And we operate in structured cycles. So like, I'll say there's a training aspect to that, because I don't think, especially even in a class setting, it should be totally random.
Yeah.
Because
right.
even if your goals are around body composition, right, you can do random workouts and it's like, oh, well, I just squatted 5 days out of the week. Like, that's probably not best, right? But with that being said, there's still the attitude of like, you're just going in and working out, having fun. I mean, it's kind of where I'm at, right? Like, like if I don't PR a lift, it has zero effect on my life right now. And so I am just working out, even if it's within a structured program.
Yeah. I guess that's why there's confusion around it, is because there is a lot of gray.
There is a lot of gray. I think for me, the two delineations are, one, do you have an intent when you go into the however long you're working out, the hour and a half, 45 minutes, whatever it is? Is there an intent for the day, right? And so if it's like, we're working on X today, and for the next 8 weeks, we are working on this on this day, that's starting to skew towards training, versus like, oh, today's chest day, right? And what goes into that does not matter, right? What movements, what selection, what rep scheme, that's working out, right?
Yeah. Unless you have like a date where you're going to go step on a stage or something.
Right. But even that, like a bodybuilder, they're training.
Yeah,
right.
That's what I meant.
They're undulating waves, they're undulating sets, they're undulating load. So like, they're still doing that stuff to maximize your strength to size ratio. But like, people that it's like, we're gonna do chest today, and it's like, I feel like dumbbell benching and I feel like going light, and so it's like, you're working out. And then there's also, so that's the intent side of things, and then there's also around, like we talked about, around specific goals. So if you're to use your example, looking to improve your weighted pull up and running, you might be running twice a week and doing upper body pulling twice a week, and it's like, you're training. But on the other side of things, like to use myself as an example, if I get my workout in on Monday, like, I have days I like to get my workouts in, but like this week I didn't work out Wednesday because I was super sore, so I worked out on Thursday, and it didn't matter to me. Because for me, it's just like, I need to get 45 minutes to an hour of movement 4 days a week to feel like a human being.
Yeah.
So it's like, as long as I can get that in, I'm good. I'm working out.
Yeah, it's almost like where the priority lies. Like, if a lot of things bend to fit your training schedule, then you're probably training.
That's a good, yeah.
If you're again, like, the training schedule is more variable and flexible because you care about other things more, then I'd say you're just kind of more so working out.
Yeah. And now the interesting thing, at least the guy the question asked, was, what's the difference between working out and training? And so we went over that a little bit. And when's it time to flip the switch? I thought that was an interesting question, because to me, that's not really a question that like you and I can answer. It's kind of like, well, what do you want to do? And for me, I think I'm a good example of that, where it's like, I'm working out now because my priorities have shifted. Whereas right now, I think I'm fit enough, definitely fit enough, that if I wanted to go do a local competition, I could, right? But if I wanted to go back and try to compete at, like, for me, right, a relatively high level, which would be like qualifier-ish competitions,
Yeah.
right? Depending
I'm
on
gonna
the
go to
level.
some of the big names.
Right. Then it's like, I then have to, okay, if that's what I want to do, I have to start training again. So to me, a lot of it is around like, when you decide you want to accomplish something specific, you have to start training, right? Like, in order to maximize the chances of you getting there, working out and just throwing random crap at a wall is not going to work out as well as it could.
No hopper?
No. Classic. Oh, guess I'm doing burpees today. I'm super good at those, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Yeah, I think for a lot of people, like, again, there's a lot of people who are kind of quasi-competitive where at the end of the day, if their body composition isn't in alignment or there's other factors in their life or like, they're so sore that they're like, holding on the railing at work, going up and down the stairs because they squatted, 10 by 10 the day before or something stupid. Yeah, I think like those people, like if the body composition or like other things that are impacting their lifestyle, if those things become a problem, they'll almost like pull back on the competing.
Yeah.
Like it's actually not the priority.
Yes.
But it's like the carrot to chase that
sure.
like kind of encourages them to do that, which again, I think that's totally fine as long as you're like honest with yourself about that. Because then it's like a lot easier to make decisions of like, okay, am I going to take on a certain amount of risk in training? Am I going to be able to push the volume and intensity to the level where I might be dealing with chronic fatigue for a select amount of times? Like, it just like helps you guide your decisions a little bit. Whereas like if you're someone and like, you're all in and like you're trying to be as professional as you can, it's just different where it's like a lot of the questions are answered for you already. It's like you don't get to choose the movement selection at a competition. You don't get to pick where you're going to place on certain workouts because like all that stuff's dictated to you, right? Like it's all demands of the sport are handed to you. So it's like you have to be prepared for it. And it's like you have to structure your life around being as prepared as possible going into a competition.
Right.
So then it's like everything becomes very clear. It's like, okay, you need to work on these things because that's what you're statistically most likely to see in competition. These are the dates on your calendar that you're competing. You need to be as ready as possible for those. And then you need to structure your life where you're recovering and taking care of things and supporting the goals outside of that. So it becomes it's honestly very simple, but not easy.
Yeah, it's funny. You saying that reminded me of a conversation I had with Justin yesterday in between the runs. We had plenty of time to fill. And so we're just chatting. And he was saying how, and I thought it was really insightful. So he said, and I hope I'm not blowing up his spot, but he kind of said that he had a couple members recently that did a competition. It was like Team Ed 3 competition or whatever, a local comp. And he said afterwards they were like a little upset with their performance. And, he was like, I thought they did well for where they were at, but relative to the field, they didn't like where they finished. And they were like, yeah, it's hard. We're just so competitive. And he's like, well, are you competitive or do you just not like losing? He's like, because if you're competitive, he's like, we're going to know if you're competitive on what happens now.
Yeah, actions.
Because if you're competitive, you then change your training and change what your workout schedule and everything looks like to become better to accomplish a goal. But if it defaults back to just what you were doing before, then you're not competitive. You just don't like losing, and he's like, which is totally fine. Like no one likes losing, but at the same time, he's like, you can't say you're competitive if you're not willing to do what competitors do. And so it's like he's like, at the end of the day, you just have to be realistic with yourself. If you're not willing to change your lifestyle to get more points at a competition, you're not competitive. You just like doing competitions and you don't like if you lose. And that's okay. And so it kind of speaks to what you were saying where it's like, if you're going to think you're making the mental switch to training, also, something Coach Bronk used to say, or a devotional he used to do was like count the cost. And so it's like, look into what does that actually look like? And are you willing to do that? And if you are willing to do that, then let's friggin' go for it. You are switching the dial to training. You're switching the dial to being competitive. Great, let's do it. Whatever level that's at, because there's levels to this, right? Whatever level that's at. But if you're not willing to do that, then count the cost. Hey, I'm not willing to do that, ... and that's okay, right? Like, just accept that, like, okay, I'm not willing to put that work in, so I'm just going to continue to work out, have a good time with it. Maybe like the meme said, I just want to do hood rat stuff with my friends. Like I'm just gonna jump in and like I'll do a local competition because it's fun, but I'm not gonna like let it ruin my week because I didn't win.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the questions that I got asked recently, so it was in a coaching consult, and it was, what are you not willing to give up? So like, okay, you say you have these goals. What are you not willing to give up to meet those goals? And I think that's a good way to think about it versus like most people are like, I'm going to train hard every day. I'm going to do this. But then when push comes to shove, there's like certain things that they're like, you know what, but I'm not going to do that.
Right.
So it's like, yeah, I'm going to train every day. I'm going to do this, but I own an affiliate and I have to do classes.
Right.
Or they have that mindset, right? And it's like, okay, well then we got to work around that, right? Like that's something you can't do. Like I'm going to train every day, but I don't want to be in the gym so much that I get divorced. Okay, great. Or like, hey, I have every other weekend I have my kids.
Sure.
And I'm going to spend time with them. So every other weekend is off limits. I'm not going to train. Right? Like there's usually like, hey, I'm not good. Like this is where the line is. I'm not going to cross it.
Sure.
Everybody's got something like that for the most part. Like there's, this many people in the world who don't have something like that where it's like everything is out the window. So like everybody listening to this, they have some line where it's like past that, yeah, I'm not willing to go there. And I think that's part of the process of training, because it is going to be like the thing that is a higher priority, at least. It's like, what is the thing that is on top of that?
Okay.
So like, where does it kind of fall into the list of overall priorities in your life? And then once you're honest about that, then you can kind of push the training dial as close to that ceiling as you can.
Sure.
Knowing that sometimes you're going to kind of, like in operation, like hit the edge and get buzzed. Like, okay, that's the limit. I got to come back in a little bit and tone it back down.
Yeah, and I think that's a good way to think about it. What am I not willing to give up? And it's funny you mentioned the class thing, because it's like I've had tons of clients, so many, that are like, I want to be good at the sport, blah blah blah, but like I really want to do partner workouts on Saturday, or I want to do this, and so it's like I end up just being like, okay, and then it's almost like we do it for a little while. And then they're like, oh, I got to improve on X, Y, or Z. And it's like, okay, well, I only got 4 days to work with. Like, are you willing to give up? And more often than not, they're like, yeah, I don't need that anymore. because they see the improvements. But yeah, like, I think, again, just to use myself as an example, that's what happened to me was like, I just was not willing to put in the time anymore. Like, so many priorities got stacked on top of it that it was just like,
swimming upstream.
Oh my gosh. It was like, I remember vividly going into, I think it was team quarterfinals for 2021. We had qualified, and that's when like some of that was competitive. I don't even know the qualification standards anymore. It might be more competitive, less. I don't freaking know. But I remember being like, okay, cool. We got a pretty good team. Maybe we could do a pretty good showing. And like, I'm training leading up to it. And I remember multiple sessions just being like, I don't want to do this right now. And to me, that was a signal, because it was probably the first time in my CrossFit career that I went into multiple sessions being like, the last thing I want to do right now is this workout piece. And I was just like, well, that's weird. Like, and so it became like, I remember having the internal conversation of like, listen, with myself, listen, you got a month, dude. Just like put it in for a month, and then we'll reassess after. And then things got even more clear when we finished, and it was like, oh wow, we finished 149 out of 161.
Oh gosh,
we're not that great.
Yeah.
So yeah, then things changed.
Yeah, and that's probably just like a realization that like, is the juice worth the squeeze?
Yeah, and it wasn't, because my kids are 9 and 6 now. They started to get into activities. It was a lot of time. I was working a lot already, as we've already talked about this weekend. Like Brooke, your wife, was like, was it like this for you forever? I was like, no, but I do remember being in that part where it's just like you and your wife are like ships in the night, and it's like not fun. But then, things started to change. My kids started to get older, and it was just like, I just priority shifted.
For that reason, I think, I don't know how long, but my days are numbered, like competing wise, right? Because I'm not getting any younger.
Right.
Father time. Oh, that one open workout. Neil Maddox like 6 times on the live stream was like, yeah, father time, getting older, masters athlete, father time. He just kept going on. I was like, dude, we get it.
We get it,
We
dude.
get that you're not 30 anymore.
No
Like,
one's holding you to that standard except for you, clearly.
yeah. So father time is coming for me too. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. There's a point where like for now, like it is something that I'm still finding a lot of enjoyment in. And like my kids aren't super busy just yet, but I do have little kids and like I want to be with them most I can. So it's like, it is very obvious that there are things that I'm sacrificing on that side of things to pursue bigger goals.
Sure.
Right. And I think that'll be something that will be help me also relate back to clients and athletes, that it's like, I understand that like you never forget your experiences as an athlete. Like
right.
for you, like your wrestling, your competitive CrossFit careers, like they help, they just help like reinforce and like, I guess like really they just help like mature your mindset as to like how an athlete should operate. Mm-hmm. And then you can kind of teach that to athletes and other people that you come in contact with.
Right. So
I think even if things don't plan, and they never do for the most part, well, like there's one person that wins every year, right? And even it's probably not you,
right? But even that, it's like their winning might not play out the way they want to.
Yes, or they win and they realize that they're still not like satisfied with things, right?
For sure,
which is always the case. But what you will take with you is like you have this newfound experience, and there's a lot that you learn along the process of doing that, and you're going to be able to take that into other aspects of your life. So that's maybe one of the reasons why. I think that the question might also ask like, why flip the switch? Like that might be a reason why.
Yeah.
It's like, you want to figure out what your limits are. Like you want to figure out what you're capable of. And even if it's not like, okay, and maybe I'm not better at exercise racing than people who like their full-time job is that, but like, what am I capable of?
Right.
And that's like a good reason to still do it.
I think that's what attracts people to the style of training, right? Like CrossFit. Even if you're not competing, what attracts people is
it's hard.
Yeah, the type of people who get into this type of training and stick with it, right? I'm sure there's people who get in, I want to lose weight, I lost weight, like I'm kind of done here. But like most people, it's like they're the type of people that the people who get sucked in and drink the Kool-Aid are the people who like to see at their core, like, what am I capable of?
Yeah.
Right? Like in general, right? And that, when you're able to do that and able, just to circle back to the question, flip the switch and go from I'm just someone who shows up every day, like every day is like like that meme of the child, like, wow, whoa, what is this? It's like when you go from that to like, okay, cool, we're doing this today, I'm gonna do these percentages, right? To find where your limits are, that mental muscle maps to every aspect of life. Where it's like, okay, where are my limits at work? Where are my, what can I do to push as a father, as a husband, right? And so it kind of attracts people who like to find that limit. People who are like totally comfortable, like just floating through life, generally don't like doing this kind of fitness.
So we had a guy come in and install our new internet, and we like gave him like a free trial card, and he's like, hey, thanks. He's like, to be honest, I'm not going to be coming in. He's like, I'm married now. I just don't really want to. He's like, I used to work out. He's like, and I don't anymore. Like, all right, dude.
And you know what? For you,
he was the most content man in the world. I was like, I can't even argue with you, dude.
Yes, exactly. And for you, knowing you were probably like, you know what? I actually really appreciate that.
Because I was like, if this was me, I would have been honest. I would have been like, thank you so much for the card. I will think about it.
Yeah.
Like, not like just been like brutally honest. Like, I don't do that anymore.
Yeah. Because his why to work out was to find a wife. And he's like, done. So it doesn't matter now.
Literally. Yeah. It was just so funny because he was just so honest about it.
Yeah. But what about your health? Don't care.
Yeah. No, I got the wife.
Yeah, I'm good to go. So, yeah, I think to circle back to what he was saying, for me, that's when you can flip the switch to training and even flip the switch back to working out is like, what are you willing to do? What are you not willing to do? where your goals lie, and then understanding, okay, those goals are going to require me to flip the switch. And then if I have bigger priorities than any fitness related goal, I can probably flip the switch back to working out.
Yeah. And we'll make sure we get the Lunch and Learn talks published so that people can listen to those. I'll link to them below so people can check it out.
Cool, man.
Sweet. Thanks.
See ya.
Thanks for listening today. If you're someone who just started listening to the show, I would encourage you to subscribe so you can stay up to date. If you're someone who's been listening for a while, I would encourage you to rate and review the show. And lastly, the best thing that you can do to support our work is also the best thing that you can do for your performance. And that is by hiring one of our coaches. Until next time, stay the course.